Hi, Dr. Eddie. I know what the topic is this week.
I know you know the topic. I always tip you off to the topic.
I know, I know, and I paid attention. I was like, "Oh, that's another good one." I really, truly appreciate your content and information. So, I'm anxious to have you walk us through this one.
Well, I'd be more than happy to. Sometimes I wonder if the Q&A sometimes is more intriguing for people because we get inundated with so many questions. But I have all these things that weigh on my mind, and I just feel like I need to maybe share, and hopefully some of it will, make a difference in some people's lives. So today, what we're going to be talking about is the idea of selfish versus selfless. Zig Ziglar, he was a very famous uh, professional motivational speaker. He came up with a lot of very wise solutions for things, especially for people to help them to better their lives, to have more success in their lives. And he said, you can have anything you want in life if you just help enough people get what they want. And I saw that and I was like, wow, you know what? That's interesting because I look at, those who have betrayed and what is it that they would want back in life, and what they would want back is the idea that their partner would trust them and their partner would be happy with them, and that they can live life happily ever after. um but in order to get there, you have to be able to help her to get what she needs. And that's where we really fall short. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about here when it comes to selfish versus selfless. In recovery, when helping your partner heal, you must really focus your attention on what benefit can you provide her. And again, we use the pronouns her because they're more common. But what is the benefit? What benefit can you provide her? But in order to do that, you have to move away from the idea or the desire of what benefit would be best for me, right? But here's the problem. The problem is those who struggle with addiction instinctively put themselves first. It's just something natural that we do. We ran from discomfort, right? That's what we learned to do. We learned to run from discomfort. We did it a long time ago, and we've done it for many, many years. But yet today, you're probably facing more discomfort than maybe any other time in your entire life because of your running. Therefore, your instinct is to react in order to remove the discomfort that's going on right now in recovery and healing, and to replace it with comfort. So therefore, there's the defensiveness, there's the withdrawing, there's the lying aspect, all the things that come into play. Why are they there? They're there to remove the sense of discomfort, and that is your grieving partner. Okay. And we're not talking about removing them. We're talking about removing their grief, what they're going through, you know, but these behaviors, they don't work when it comes to betrayal healing. Instead, what it does, it comes across as being uncaring, comes across as being thoughtless. And thoughtless is a really powerful word here when we're talking about this right now, because that's what we come across as very often, thoughtless. And in many cases, as I speak to the betrayer, that is not their intention. But that's why we say you can't ever focus on intentions, because intentions are really meaningless. You may not intend to be thoughtless, but yet that is what you're doing, and that's the way you're coming across. And part of that problem is the fact that we're too focused on what is troubling us or we're worried about or what we're concerned about. And again, how can I get back to comfort? One of the biggest issues I see, is the betrayer who allows their shame and guilt to interfere with the positive action that they should be taking toward the partner, right? So therefore, again, you've heard me say this many times, they're allowing their pain to trump her pain. And this always winds up intensifying our conflict. But more importantly, what it does is stalls recovery because what's happened is you have set her back. You've set her back. Now, maybe not all the way back to square one, but she's taken a step back. And many betrayers wonder, when is she going to heal? I'm doing my work. Okay, I've been sober for so long. When is she going to heal? Well, she's going to heal when you stop setting her back. Consistency. I'll give you a few examples of some of that in a moment, but that's what we're looking for. Looking for consistency. Yeah, but you don't understand. I mean, I go to my meeting and I'm consistent there, and I, do my counseling work. I'm consistent there, and I've been, sober. I'm consistent there. Great, great. But that's just the beginning. The real consistency becomes, it really shows up when you start to become selfless. When you start to become selfless and you're putting her and her needs before yours. And again, that's difficult for someone who has an addictive brain. Okay, and a compulsive disorder, it is difficult. It is not the way we were hardwired. We are grounded to protect ourselves, to look out for ourselves because we thought emotionally no one would be there for us. And that makes, so therefore what we're trying to do really is not natural, but that is not an excuse for not being able to do it ultimately. See, your selfishness leads to this cycle of hurt because it doesn't show that you can be consistent again in providing that safety and attention that she needs. And without that consistency, the turmoil can continue for many years. And you've seen it. Many of you are living through it. You've been living through it for a long time. And it goes back to the lack of consistency. Well, I'm tired of being consistent. I tried to be consistent. I can't be consistent anymore. I just, I am all right. Then you know what? Then maybe you need to go and maybe you need your counselor to work more on expanding that window of tolerance. And we talked about that a couple months ago. All right. How much can you know, deal with her pain that comes in? Because too much, I told you, for a person who has an addiction, our window is about that big. You need to expand that window so you can be able to take on more. It's interesting. We talk about what I'm saying right now is that the betrayer need to be able to take on more pain. And yet they sit there and they look at me like, well, why should I have to take on all this pain? I hate this pain, but damn, what did you do to her? Think of all the pain you caused her. Pain that she lived with every day. Even again, if it looks like everything's going well, underneath the surface is here. And this is when I go back to the idea of selfishness. I don't want to feel this pain. I don't want to have to deal with the questions again. I don't want to have to, sit here and be bombarded with her talking to me about what I've done in the past and that shame coming in. I don't want it. I don't want it. Your inner child is just running amok. She doesn't want it either. The solution is very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Be selfless. Push out. Outwardly focused. Focus. What does she need? Let's look at some examples, okay? You're scrolling a sports site, okay, on the internet, and there's some clickbait, like check her out. And so what are you going to choose? You click on the image, or you're going to choose your partner's safety. Okay, again, this is an opportunity. Are you selfless or selfish? She comes to you with questions. You've heard them 1,000 times. You become angry, you become dismissive, or maybe you just walk away. That's selfish. Versus, hey, you know what? Obviously, this still hasn't been resolved with her, and I have to be able to continue to be here and answer because of what she needs. Yes, it is. I guess the word is annoying because I thought we covered all this, but you know what? I haven't been able to fully process with her yet. See, you guys who betrayed, you have no idea what's going on in their brain. You have no clue whatsoever of the depth of the turmoil that they feel, that the sense of is it real, is it not real? We have no idea, but it is, just has to be tormenting. It has to be. But we don't have that, don't realize it. And we have to start to try to put ourselves to realize, wow, what they're going through is incredible. Not so much what I'm going through. You know, you say you're going to do something and you don't do it. That's selfish. You broke a promise. Well, you know what? I didn't call before I left work. I got tied up with something else and I just forgot. Selfish. She's not on your mind at that moment. She should be on your mind a lot. Okay? She's looking for a plan. She wants to know, what is your plan when you go on that business trip next week? Okay. And trip comes up and you forget to discuss it with her. You may even have a trip. You may even, I'm sorry, have a plan, but you don't discuss it. That's selfish. You have left her in the dark. You've left her in the dark. Can't leave her in the dark because when you were doing what you were doing before, she was in the dark. She will not tolerate that any longer, and she shouldn't. Selflessness is when you can focus on, and you've heard this mantra I have, how will this action or inaction impact, fill in her name? How will this action or inaction impact Terry, my wife? And I go through that. And I try to keep that top of mind all the time. Being selfless, what it does, it changes you for the better. Okay, even if you're getting negative responses and doing it, you're growing because, see, being selfless is not an activity, it's not a behavior, it is who you are becoming. And part of, again, for those folks who have worked with me, you know what I think is not just remove the bad behavior, but transformation. And so therefore, if as part of your transformation, focusing on being selfless should be the cornerstone, of what you're trying to accomplish. I really want you to ponder this. Perhaps maybe go back and even listen to this again, because I think it is so important, so critical in order to help the healing process to move forward. That's what I got for you, Tammy.
So great stuff, and I really appreciated, how will this action or inaction, because sometimes we go, well, I didn't do that, but it's also what you didn't do, like even I like when you were talking about the example of like, you said you would do something and you didn't, and you made a promise. But I didn't promise. I just said I was going to do it. But I am like integrity. We're seeking integrity. If I say I'm going to do something, that means I've made a promise. It is not just like a throwaway comment. It is. And my grandma, I think it was my grandma used to say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Somebody said it, but it's like one of those things where we can have all kinds of good intentions. It is what, how we are showing up. And I love that you're talking about, this is transformational. This is part of who we are. And that, that's what, we believe too, is seeking integrity. It is changing behaviors, of course, because now they're aligned in integrity versus, the chaos and everything else. You were talking about, thoughtlessness. And, lots of partners will see this. I mean, that's kind of the best of it, is if you're just thoughtless versus self-centered, self-focused, narcissistic. Like, there's deeper layers of that. Thoughtless is, it is the mildest form of that.
What you just
Go ahead.
described is when a person's in their addiction, that is where they're at. And so that's why, again, for somebody just to sit there and say, yeah, but I'm not acting out any longer. Well, yes, you are. You are, but you're acting out differently because you're still being self-absorbed. It's still more about your pain than it is about their pain. You can even still say, yes, it's a strong narcissistic tendency in a way. And therefore, again, we're trying to change everything, not just, again, the behavior that was causing so much pain. We're trying to change everything. And that means I'm becoming more outwardly focused.
When you're talking about the pain, it's not just her pain. You both have pain. Addicts are just really good at avoiding it by doing their acting out behaviors and escaping it. And we can't avoid it, but we can move through it. Like, like when you're talking about, I don't want to be in pain. Nobody wants to be in pain. And yes, she's been in pain caused by your behaviors. And, here's an opportunity for you to work on bridging that gap and healing that pain. When you said, when is she going to heal? And I hear when is she going to get over it? It's like, I'm tired of it. Just like you were saying, it's like, well, I'm doing these things, and kind of in a defensive, manner. And I think it's also put her needs first, but not in a manipulative way. I unfortunately, and I'm sure you do too, hear it like, I'm putting her needs first because I want her to get over this, and I want to not have to deal with my stuff. I'm going to focus over here. So this is complex stuff. I hope you guys are hearing that. And like, it's not going to be magically fixed. Like even guys that come to our treatment program, we sometimes get partners that think they're going to come and then they're going to be all better in the time that they're with us, and they're making progress on this. But this is a journey, and this takes a lot more work, as you can see, to transform, as Dr. Eddie was talking about.
You know,
And
when
you go
people
ahead.
when people ask, when guys say, you know, is she going to get over it? When's she going to get over it? I ask the question, I go, what is she trying to get over? And all of them say, well, the fact that I was unfaithful or I was watching porn or, that you're missing the boat, man. You're missing the boat. Okay. What it is when is she going to get over the fact that she wasn't a priority? When is she going to get over the fact that she doesn't feel loved? When is she going to get over the fact that she feels that, you desire or want something different or more than what she can deliver for you. And that's just the beginning, that's the tip of the iceberg. Those are what she's trying to get over. Okay. The actions you took have driven all these deeper emotions in her that she is still struggling today. And that's why this idea that, what's going on in her mind. And that just came to me, as you know, it wasn't part of what I was going to talk about today, but it just came to me, that idea of the depth of the confusion of the trying to put pieces together and they don't match. And plus, on top of that, the fear of, will this happen again? Put that to the equation. And what do you have? We have a betrayed partner who is going through trauma. And we need to be able, once again, to provide what is needed. If a person if you're a betrayer and you are being consistent in your behaviors and your partner is not healing, okay, then there's something else that's there, right? But again, the problem I see is that lack of consistency. I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and they've been going through this now for about 4 years, and he had a relapse back in the late last year. Okay. And now, well, I mean, you think you should be better after 3, 4 years. No, it's not 3, 4 years. It's the end of last year. That's where it is. Okay, your timeline's not the same as her timeline, and it shouldn't be. So anyway.
No, I think I had somebody that reached out a while ago, and he was like, she's paranoid, like you're talking about, if there's an inconsistency in healing. But I was like, but just like you're talking about, it's like, but you're still acting out, you're relapsing, you're not really in recovery. So is she paranoid? No, she's got a reason to be wary, and so two more things. One is, um, when a partner is like, oh, he's been in recovery for 30 days and so we're doing really great now, like that's a massive red flag for me, because like you're right, like the partner should be concerned and dealing with their pain, and it feels like they're putting a band-aid on and hoping that now everything's going to be okay because he's doing these things. So that, again, this is more complicated from that standpoint. So, and I don't remember the other one, and it doesn't matter. We've got some questions, and we've got some questions in the bin, and we'll probably not have time for the others, but we've got a whole bunch of them stored up from before. And one of these days, I'm going to beg Dr. Eddie to do another 2 hour so we can catch up, maybe. Okay, so Dr. Eddie, is it possible to have love of life without having a strong love of self? Ooh, that's a philosophical, great question.
I say no. I believe that if there's self-loathing going on within you, if there is this deep shame that within you, no, I'm not sure how you go out and present or one view life in a positive manner. Okay, because how do you accept it? How do you appreciate it? It doesn't strike me as being possible. I do believe that you have to really feel good about yourself and who you are. Self-acceptance is so important. It's one of the things I work with men on when we're going through their recovery work. They'll tell you, I keep talking about that idea of confidence. And it's like, well, it's hard to be confident when, she keeps throwing all this stuff at you. Doesn't matter. If you look at, again, your consistency, your track record, are you doing the right thing? If you're doing the right thing, then you can be confident in what you do. So to answer the question, no, I think you need that sense of self-love.
Yeah, I am confident that the shame will always, throw a damp curtain on, anything. You will never experience true joy, and connectedness if you are always, thinking that you are less than. Yeah, and I think addicts are really good at holding up a facade, but they know the deep problems underneath, and so nobody could really love me if they really knew who I am. And so, to your point, it's like, yes, we have to accept warts and all. This is who we are. And if we are working on being the better version of this, being a person of consistency and integrity, we can change and be esteemable. Okay, the next one, Dr. Eddie, is what about when the addict mistakes ignoring their needs with being selfless? Oh, that's a great one, too.
Ignoring their need with being selfless. Oh, so therefore what it's saying is that if you ignore your need, I can't focus on my need because then I would be selfish. Is that what they're saying?
Yes, I think. And if I'm constantly doing things for other people and not taking care of myself, I mean, I see both of those, I
Yeah.
think, could be part of it.
Self-care is at the core of recovery. Hey, there's nothing selfish about self-care. We need it. It is required. You are not going to be able to provide for others what they need if you are walking around drained.
Mhm.
So you need to constantly be replenishing yourself because this is a difficult season in life. You have to keep replenishing yourself, and that requires the self-care. So again, no, it's not being selfish.
Well, and that's true for both the addict and the partner. The self-care is key for both of you. Debbie McCrae does webinars, and she said when partners come in and they're, dysregulated, first thing she asks about is the self-care that they're doing, and she said that's gone out the window. So it really, self-care has to be paramount for both sides of the equation. So okay, we are 8 months back together, but I'm still traumatized. And sometimes I am still so hurt and angry and cry so hard. At times I hate him and hate that I still have this attachment to him. We don't live together. And when we're not together, I feel bad. But when we are together, it's at times too much, even though we want to be together and love each other. I have doubts continuously, even though he is a different person. And I kind of wonder how much of a different person he is if all of this is going on. But anyway, what are your thoughts, Dr. Eddie?
Yeah, I see that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know how much have he done? Is he a different person? Let's go with the assumption he's different. Okay, because that's what she said. I
Mhm.
have continuous doubts, even though. So this becomes your work now. Okay, this is your work with your therapist to say, okay, how do I be able to manage this, doubt that I have? How do I learn to manage and control the fears I have that this may happen again? See, no one can guarantee you this will not happen again. I'm sorry, and you just can't, you're not going to get that guarantee. Now, he may be saying, I can't imagine ever doing it. Just like me, I can't imagine ever doing it again. So therefore, again, what has to happen here now is for you to be able to adapt and accept that you will not be able to get 100% certainty. However, what will help you there is if you continue to see his consistency. If he continues to do the right thing over and over and over again, that can give you a great deal of peace and a great deal of security. It will not give you 100% peace, and it will not give you 100% security. So I look here, like you said, when we're together, it's kind of rough. But I think maybe it's like, what are you doing together? Maybe you need to plan some more fun stuff to be doing. It's not like, oh, we're just sitting here and hanging out at the house or whatever. Maybe you need to really start dating and see what goes on there so that maybe you can feel a little bit more. You can see what the positive side of the relationship could be moving forward. So that's what I can answer based on what information I have.
And I threw some, and I'm going to make an assumption that you're female. But I threw some resources in the chat. One is the Empowered Women's Retreat that's coming up in August. That is amazing and healing. And we talk about internal boundaries and external boundaries and grief work. And I mean, like, it's just so good. Separately is the Betrayed Partner Work Group, and that's mixed gender, but that it starts this Sunday, and that is online. The Empowered Women's Retreat is in person, but the work group is online, 6 weeks, 90 minutes per week. But healthy boundaries, communication, like there's a bunch of solid tools that could be really useful for you, as you're navigating this space. Okay, the next one, acting out partner discovery 13 days ago. Wow, this describes me so well. I'm wanting to go to meetings and weekend retreats for recovery. She is against me doing so because it takes time. She doesn't see value in it, and she doesn't want me to have any feel good activities. Should I avoid all recovery activity that she objects to? Could I possibly be selfish with respect to my recovery? Is my partner's opinion the correct yardstick to use to determine what to do or not to do?
So she's 13 days in. She's less than 2 weeks in, right? She is numb with all of this stuff. And her fears are just catastrophic. Deciding the game plan, what is your recovery game plan, should be you and your therapist. Okay. That's how it should be decided. Now, she should be, you know, put into the mix. She should know what this is all about, to be able to see it, to understand it. I would imagine that your therapist is not going to put you in any feel-good activity. That's not what recovery is, not feel-good stuff. And again, remember, she probably doesn't know what any of this is. She's just making assumptions about it. And I'm not blaming her for her assumptions. It's just, like I said, right now, her world is just crashed around her and she's trying to make heads or tails out of it. So I think what she needs is some more education about what are these programs that you want to go to. Going to a retreat, I'm not sure you'd be in a retreat right now. That seemed to be a little bit different. It's something that's later on. Meetings, yes. Definitely having a therapist, yes. Perhaps doing an intensive program such as, seeking integrity and that, maybe, yes. But, you got to sit with your therapist, come up with what is going to be the recovery plan, have her come in, sit, let the therapist explain these are why we chose these activities or these um, recovery programs, and then hopefully she'll feel more comfortable with it.
Okay, I'm going to try really hard here. Just stopping the problematic behavior is not recovery. You will act out again, or it will leak out in other ways. So while she doesn't want you to spend time on recovery, she will not have a person who is different if you don't get help. You're wanting to go to meetings. We have a whole bunch of drop-in groups. Our online work group, Sex Addiction 101, starts again July 6th, I think. I put the link for the work groups in there. There's a betrayed partner work group. This is education, but I've been in recovery for decades. I can promise you that if you just sit around and look at each other, this is a recipe for disaster. You will not, you won't change. You can't change. She can't fix you. You can't help her. You guys need separate, help and healing. We've got, educational things like our podcasts on our website. There are lots of resources. I've got resources for her, the drop-in groups. I understand her pain, but pulling the shell in and going, if I just ignore all of this, is not going to help her, and for sure is not going to help you either. So yes, I'm with Dr. Eddie, and as a qualified therapist, it's not a generalist therapist.
Right.
They don't know this work. So go ahead.
Right. Number one action right now is for the two of you to get in front of a therapist who specializes in the area of sex, porn addiction, perhaps maybe you have background, hopefully, in betrayal trauma, just to be able to help you guys navigate the landscape of what it is and what is needed. And then from there, and then being able to find that therapist for her also. But that's number one. You need to be able
So
to do.
email me, Tammy, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com, and tell me where you're located. And I can help you find a good professional. So there's bunches that I recommend and there's bunches that I don't. So, okay. how do you know when working on Recovery Act is selfless for all of us versus just for myself? Example, signing up to be an assistant football team coach and bond with fellow fathers in the community. Team is middle school and our children.
That again is to bond with other men in the community. Again, if that is your objective and that is what is required as part of your recovery, okay, because I need to have relationships with people. And again, we want to do that with men, not women. I know, to me, that is not something that is selfish. Again, if again your therapist is sitting there and saying, "Yeah, no, I think this is ideal for you," or it was part of your, plan, your recovery plan. From there, I need that bonding so I can learn how to become more emotionally connected and intimate. I don't. I think it's a good thing.
And I bet your kids will love having you as a coach too. But yeah, like when we talk about inner circle, middle circle, outer circle, my outer circle is not just, like all recovery things and only 12 step meditations. You know, I personally love paddleboarding and like that's one of those things I do. And that is one of the most Zen things I can do. I like to hike. But there are other things that are in my outer circle that are good for me and not just, checking a box off for recovery work. So if recovery was drudgery, then none of us would do it. But it's about finding the things that in our life that we were missing out on because we were so focused on preserving this acting out behavior. So but this is also, it sounds like you're married. This would be an opportunity to discuss this with your wife. Make sure you're not making a unilateral decision, but talking about, this is what I see, do you agree? And if there's, it's an opportunity for you to talk about it and hopefully help your relationship from that standpoint too. Okay, the next one is, I am the betrayer recovering addict. I had full disclosure with my wife 4.5 years ago. I'm experiencing 4.5 years sobriety from pornography and 1 year from masturbation. I realize though that sobriety is not enough. This is apparent as due to my reactivity, etc., has us 3+ months into an out of home redemptive therapeutic separation. Other than what you have shared here about asking the questions of myself and making decisions, how will this inaction affect her? Any other action steps towards becoming selfless, restoring our marriage?
I think based on what you're saying here, again, if I'm reading this right, that you're struggling with being reactive. And so therefore, she's trying to, have conversation with you. She's trying to, get you to answer questions, whatever. You need to get that reaction that you have under control, whatever it is. I don't know if it's aggressive, I don't know if it's passive, whatever, but that is what I'd be working on. I'd be working on being able, again, go back to, my book, Why Men Struggle to Love, and the 14 blind spots. Okay. Are you taking care of all of those? Or are you being completely honest and transparent? Are you being outwardly focused? Are you being curious and asking the questions and, such as, hey, you know what? You've looked good for the last 3 or 4 days. I see you've seem very calm. But, tell me, how much have you been thinking about the pain I've caused you? Okay, those types of things. So, I might want to look there first at those um, blind spots to see if there are areas in there that you need to work on and to improve. But you definitely need to be doing work on becoming more responsive and less reactive.
Well, and with a therapeutic separation, there should be a plan and goal. So what is on your list that has been like, this is what she's looking to see you do and change in order to be back together again in this under the same roof. So I would really look at what is your plan, because just separating, like that in my experience hasn't been helpful for many people. It's just separating. So it's really what what is she looking to see you do? And then if those are the things, then how do you achieve those, specific things? I love what Dr. Eddie shared. Yeah, yes, there's some tangible things you can do.
And again,
Okay, go ahead.
even the idea of, again, going back to how will this, action or inaction impact her should help you on many different fronts, including, okay, how will this response or, in response or, lack of response impact her. I think if you're just using that, that can help you in many different areas to help you, again, transform and be that person who she looks at and said, wow, I feel security here.
So the next one, I'm the betrayed partner who had discovery 5 years ago of an emotional affair with my husband. Sex addiction was identified a year and a half ago. Each of us attends individual therapy and 12-step group. My husband continues to relapse. And I'm like, he can't relapse if he's not really in recovery. And I don't hear him being in recovery. So he continues to act out. Let's go with that. With viewing porn and participating in chat rooms. I want to ask about your opinion about installing app to monitor his phone for porn and inappropriate sites.
Well, first and foremost, it should have been there from the beginning. Okay.
But his therapist or somebody else monitor like this. I can only imagine how dysregulating this is for you. Yeah, to me, this is, what are you doing to take care of you? Because he's continuing to act out. So,
well, she said they're both in individual therapy. They're both doing their 12-step groups. Okay.
yeah, and he's acting out.
But his is not taking hold for some reason. So therefore, I got to be thinking, hey, do I need to find a different therapist? Do I need to find a different group? What is the struggle? Again, why? Why do I continue to allow sex to have a stronghold on me? He has to answer that question. And without answering that question, he's going to struggle there. Maybe he needs inpatient treatment at this point. But as far as an app on his phone for porn or appropriate site, I mean, again, it probably should have been there. I mean, I don't know. He may be one of these guys who can work around it though and find a way. I mean, that's just, again, you're putting a Band-Aid over the gaping wound. And I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. I mean, do that, but he really needs more intensive work. That's what I'm saying here.
And I agree. And I hear partners who are, trying to like, this is his job. So I'm going to invite you. And I put the Empowered Women's Retreat in, like, we talk about you, not talk about you. We help you. We don't talk about him at the Empowered Women's Retreat. This is so dysregulating. If all of the focus is on, oh, he needs to do this and he's acted out again. Well, yeah, he's still in active addiction. So it's the cycle of addiction, and maybe he goes a month or two or whatever. But yes, he will continue to do that until and unless he gets enough of the right help to not just stop the problematic behaviors, but address the underlying issues. We have, and I put a link in there, we have an amazing expert residential treatment program, 14, 21, or 28-day length of stay for guys like him that, are on that loop. And guess what? We have a family specialist that is supporting partners from a pro-dependent lens. We are not blaming you. We are not telling you you're part of the problem. We're going, gosh, we want to help you, with healthy attachment and healing. So yeah, but he can keep doing this. I often say, until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same, addicts don't change. And if he's kind of doing this like, oh, well, but look, I'm going to 12-step and I'm seeing my therapist, his motivation to change is minimal, non-existent. Okay. The next one, the balance between selfish and selfless is challenging when she rages at me and the verbal insults feel abusive. I need to protect my recovery from a terrible shame spiral, but no one in the world trusts me into thrusts me into a devastating shame spiral like she does when triggered. Do I selflessly sit and take the barrage of anger and derision from an emotional punching bag? She seems to want to see me suffering as much as she does.
Bernard, I'm sure that Tammy and me will come up with some good answers for you. It's just an inside joke between Bernard and I.
Yeah.
No, one, you're not supposed to be a punching bag. I mean, you're not supposed to be a punching bag. However, And two, I don't know how long this has been going on. So that's important. I would really like that because that last line you put, she seems to want me to see me suffering as much as she does. I can't deny that there are some women who that's their motive. That's what it become their motive. Didn't start that way, but that's what it become. And that is because they have become so bitter and they need to work to remove that bitterness and to be able to determine what is it that I want out of life. Am I going to stay a victim or am I going to wind up being someone who perseveres? So again, I'm not saying that because I don't know how long this has been going on. But for you, you're saying, I need to protect my recovery from this terrible shame spiral. This is where you need to do the work prior to sitting with her. So therefore, you don't go in the shame spiral. You know what's going to come at you. You know the insults, you know all of this. And again, this is where you go back to curiosity. Okay, all right, you know what? You, you're calling me every name in the book. Every name in the book. Is there anything good that you see in me? And you might get, no, I don't see anything good. Then why are we still doing this? Not that I don't want to do it. I want us to be together, but why are we still doing this? What is the point? What is the objective that we're trying to accomplish? Sometimes we have to ask those questions, but again, you do it in a way, just the way I just did, in a very calm demeanor, right? And those insults have to kind of roll off you. Because again, if you build the confidence, I talked about this before, if you build confidence within yourself, and it seems that you have that idea, your sense is that, hey, I've been on the road to recovery and I'm doing well. Well, you know what? Tap into that as it's coming at you, if that storm is coming at you, okay, to be able to kind of not push back on it, but not to allow it to make you wilt. What you have there, no one in the world rushes me into a more devastating shame. That is on you, my friend, not her. That is you because you allow it to happen. And you have you have the power and the control to not allow that to happen. But you have to start feeling better about yourself, despite whatever she throws at you. So hopefully maybe that answers some of your questions.
Well, and we've talked in other webinars too about like, we teach the guys at our residential treatment program. It's like you're holding, holding the space out in front of you. You're not a sponge. You're holding a vessel so that you can feel, and be emotionally available to hold the space but not take it on. And so, but the other thing is when you're not in one of these, just say, this isn't working. And so if not if, when this happens again, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna check in with you, but I'm gonna let you know I'm not abandoning, but I'm gonna step away. And then I'm gonna check in 20 minutes and then we'll see if we can talk about this. Cause I really want to know, but it doesn't help anything if I go into a shame spiral and if you're raging. And so if we want to do something different, then one of us has to be willing to start that process, and so are you willing to try that? And if that's a little bit of if she goes, no, I want to continue to rage at you, well, then I'm just going to go take care of myself and I will check back in with you. But like Dr. Eddie said, you taking that on is on you. Even triggers, I say if somebody's intentionally trying to trip my triggers, that's one thing, but I don't think most people are malicious in trying to do that. If something happens and I'm triggered, that's data for me. And I need to really step up my self-care in order to take care of me so that I'm not reacting or acting out in a way that is, not in my, aligned with my integrity. So okay, we're going to end up with extra questions again. What do I tell a man who's been sober 3 years and is really trying to be present, but his wife is still very triggered when she thinks about the past acting out? She is not willing to go to counseling and her husband or by herself for their healing. That's
So
challenging.
That is, yes, that's a good word. That's challenging. However, I would really want to sit and listen to what the wife has to say. I would really want to hear what she had to say about how, again, 3 years sober. Okay, that's great. But what about the rest? It says try to be present. What does that mean? How are you being present? I mean, you just sitting there not saying anything. I mean, there's not enough details here. Let's say you are. Let's say you're doing everything you need to do to again transform. Then the problem is her not going to counseling, her not doing what she needs to do. At some point in time, and I'm sorry to say that, but at some point in time, you're going to have to, throw down the gauntlet and to say, hey, you know what? I can't do anything else. I'm doing everything possible to save this marriage, and you will not contribute. And I know I'm the one who sets all in motion. I get it. But, are we just going to live like this for the rest of our lives? And maybe you decide you can't. That doesn't mean we have to make a threat, whatever. But, I've seen it. I've seen this scenario play out many times where a husband had to say, all right, you know what? I'm not going to go through this anymore. You are not doing what you need to do. And we're going to need to make, different arrangement. And I've seen women turn and they said, all right, wait, I'll do something. All right. Because again, she's, again, in so much pain that she can't even process through clearly what should be going on. So again, that's like the last course of action. But I mean, I would love to see what her feedback is on all of this.
Yeah, and I use the analogy of like, if I'm a passenger in a car and there's a car accident and I get hurt, just because I wasn't driving and I wasn't part of that, I still got hurt. And to not take care of those wounds, not go to ICU or the ER or whatever, and just go, oh yeah, I'm going to wait around 3 years and hopefully, this broken leg heals on its own. I'm like, it just, like this isn't about like, is it fair? Heck no. But on the other hand, it's like there's hurt, there's wounds, there's grief, there's loss, all of those things. And why would you not want to have joy in your life and peace and move forward in a different way? Unless it's like the one we were just talking about, where like I want to rage. And I do see those too, where I want to make your life miserable because I've been hurt. Neither of you has joy. Then there's no joy, there's no peace, there's no healthy relationship. That's just two people under the same roof, trying to cause each other pain. Not a great way to live.
Nothing gets gained from it. Nothing.
Yeah.
And in fact, all you do is you just make the pain worse and moving forward.
Okay, so my essay husband makes suggestions about what he can do to establish trust, like offers transparency with his devices, but will only deliver if I insist. I don't insist or ask for any actions because in the past he found creative ways to work around every boundary and safety measure, like creating shared Google Docs to secretly communicate while letting me see his email. How can we get past this roadblock? What should he do? What should I do to move forward?
What should he do? He needs to be transparent. Obviously, there's a stumbling block here with him. He right now, and again, I'm just basing it on what you're saying to me, all right? Trying not to judge him, but the idea is that right now there is not transparency, that he is still in his addictive state. And he haven't gotten to the point where it's like, no, you know what? I will do whatever. What did it take to, say, hey, here's my phone when I walk in the door at the end of the day? Okay. And then she gives it back and say, here's my phone at the end of the night. Here, keep it, put it away somewhere, whatever. What did it take to do that? Very little. Very, very little. So again, I look at this and, he talks about establishing trust, but it's not about talk, it's about actions. about action. For you, you need those boundaries. This is what I require of you. And if you break any of these boundaries, well, then you know what? Here's the consequence that comes with it. All right. It's a roadblock right now, as you put it. You know what? Don't make it a roadblock. Take action on your own, either for him to move forward or to sit there and to die on that hill.
Yeah, yeah, and healthy boundaries for you. I'm going to go back, assuming you're female. The Empowered Women's Retreat, we talk about internal and external boundaries. You can't make him do anything, but your healthy boundaries are about your safety, and this is not safe. He's still acting out. Okay, the next question: is it possible for the addict to get any sense of self-respect back in their life?
Well, I think that's part of what I've been talking about here today. And part of that is if you become selfless, if you are focused more on what I can do for her, what I can do for others, yes, you can get a lot of self-respect back in your life. You can if you're doing the right thing, that is going to give you a sense of self-respect. If you're no longer trying to hide or manipulate, that's going to give you a sense of self-respect. So yes, you can definitely do it, but it comes through the actions that you're taking. And if the actions are positive, yes, over time that confidence will build and you will feel much better about yourself.
That's a goal. I mean, again, recovery, like, yes, it is about self-respect and self-love. It doesn't mean we think we're perfect and it's not grandiosity. It's just, yes, we have to do esteemable things. So, and then this is a follow-up. The addict thinks he has been selfless in the relationship because he didn't address his needs.
Well, again, that's not being selfless because you're not addressing. Again, we're talking healthy needs. Okay? Because he didn't address his healthy needs. You got to put that word in there. And if not addressing your needs, your healthy needs, that's ignorant because that is not going to help you. You're not going to wind up being in a good place. You're going to put yourself more at risk, not just for like acting out from a sexual way, but maybe again, being, withdrawing, isolating, being more aggressive, whatever it may be. So no, we'll go back to the answer that we had before that, doing this is not a form of being selfless. It's not selfish either, but it's not smart, put it that way.
Well, and I was thinking, you know what? Addicts will get resentful if we're constantly putting everybody else's needs first. Even if we're choosing to do that, we'll get resentful. Guess what? The number one reason we act back out is because we're resentful. We have to guard ourselves against that. So and taking care of ourselves, you get on a flight, they say put your oxygen mask on first. So if you're not taking care of yourself, you've got nothing left to give. I hear this with betrayed partners, and I'm sure you do too, with betrayed partners who feel so exhausted, trying to manage everything and navigate things, that they're not taking care of themselves, and they feel like they're not showing up for themselves and kiddos if they've got kiddos. So it really is imperative. Self-care has to be a foundational component.
Without them having, I think we're done with questions for this time, but without them having that self-care, the betrayed partner, that is just going to heighten their anxiety level, which means it's just going to heighten much of the fear that they have. So what they need to do for themselves in being able to take care of themselves, finding time for themselves is so crucial. It's so crucial because if not, you're just going to be completely, out of sorts, and therefore nothing is going to really get resolved.
I'm capturing all of the questions. I'll add them to our mega list. So,
Well,
I
just
think I just
maybe
got
next
another.
month. I think maybe next month we'll do the 2 hour Q. I mean, she's so excited about stuff. That's
I
interesting,
do. I was
right?
going to hit you up for it. I wasn't going to do it now. Now you guys have heard it. It's recorded for
Oh,
all
maybe I
time.
want to share words wisdom. Maybe there's something about me that I need to do
It
that.
is.
It's my
No, it
ego.
is. Well, I should consult with Terry before I feed into that, right? So, yeah. No, so thank you
Yeah.
everyone for the questions. Again, we'll plan it. I'll put it on the calendar. But we'll coordinate for July, hopefully a 2 hour. But if you're in, I'm going to do it.
Well, I'm in. I'm in. We're gonna
Okay,
do.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it on the calendar now. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
I
Thanks,
still may
Dr.
bring
Eddie.
some wisdom though. Goodbye.
Oh, you can bring wisdom. Always bring wisdom. But yeah, we
All
count
right.
on that. All right.
Goodbye,
Take care. Bye
everyone.
bye.